Is there a place for nuclear power in a greener Ontario?
Very difficult question to answer. Depends on how you frame your roster. Yes, if you look at purely carbon emissions, nuclear provides a very attractive option because it is low in terms of, and virtually zero in terms of carbon emissions. If you add to it the cost of, first of all, operating the full nuclear fuel cycle, if you add into the fact that no insurance company will insure a nuclear power station and society has to, in a sense, bear that risk, if you look at 1,000 years of managing nuclear waste, you begin to put things in a different perspective. So I think the idea that nuclear will somehow be the answer is unlikely, but there are a number of countries who are choosing it as a transition, as a bridging technology, and I think you have that same discussion here in Ontario.
The Pembina Institute and Amory Lovins in the States have both come out very clearly on this, that investing in nukes starves your system for the investment you need in the alternatives. That's why, amongst a variety of reasons, why we have to reject the nuclear path.
It's not clean, as the nuclear industry would suggest. I mean, not only are there radiation releases to air and water, but we've got 30,000 tons of high-level radioactive waste from these reactors in Ontario that we don't know what to do with. Well, it's going to be toxic for a million years.
Patrick Moore says 90% of that could be recycled.
That is another big fat lie from Mr. Moore. Nuclear power is not safe either. I mean, there is a very real, a small probability, but a real risk of a catastrophic accident.
If you have a meltdown in Ontario, either terrorist-induced, which is possible, or an accident, you will have very little power because your nuclear power plants will be closed down. The investment in your uranium mining will stop, and many power plants around the world will close. And what's more, hundreds of thousands of people could be dying of acute radiation illness and cancers years later.
When you have a nuclear accident, unlike other energy technologies, there's a chance that you may never go home. The village of Chernobyl was founded in 900 AD. It's now a ghost town.
And then you get old plants where you say, you really want us to shut down for a year so that we can rebuild the system that seemed good enough when we built the thing. And you know, take the Pickering reactors closest to Toronto. They've got like 5–10 years left max. How much are you going to invest? How long do you want to shut them down to try to bring them up to the standards we now know are what we should have done in the first place?
Well, and building a nuclear plant is not necessarily the best way to deal with increasing demand. They're really large plants. Demand increases incrementally. And a nuclear station, it's up really quickly. We know demand is going down right now to 2020. So let's take that opportunity to displace some of our nuclear capacity and see how other energy technologies continue to evolve.
We, unlike the Japanese, like to share a bunch of our safety systems. So we built a vacuum building as the key of our containment system at Pickering that is now servicing the 6 remaining reactors and is sized for one accident.
Ontario Power Generation says everything's fine, their reactors are safe. So does Atomic Energy of Canada Limited, and so do all the suppliers. But what Canadians should understand is those people saying that are not actually liable for their actions. So if I hurt you, typically you can sue me for damages. But when it comes to the nuclear industry, you're not allowed to do that for full compensation.
Oh, they've got an out.
Yeah, there's something called the Nuclear Liability Act, and it caps liability at $75 million. And trust me, it costs them $75 million to move a radioactive waste barrel around in Canada. So in the event of an accident, it's not OPG that will actually assume the consequences. It's Canadian society.